Today we're doing longest consecutive sequence. So, given an array, we want to count the longest consecutive set of numbers. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 100, 200, which obviously aren't plus 1 to 4. So our longest consecutive is 4. And here we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which including the 0 is 9. And for this, we're going to be using a tree set. And a tree set, as you know, sorts the... It basically sorts the array into a set, but it does the sort in log n, which is brilliant. Because we can't use Arrays.sort because that's n log n, which is much slower. So we're going to go ahead and use a tree set. So let's go ahead and make our tree set. We're going to call it, let's call it set. Map doesn't really make sense. Awesome. So, we're going to go ahead and populate our new set. Great. Brilliant. So if we printed out this set, everything would be in ascending order, which is exactly what we want. Now we're going to iterate through this set using a for each loop. Let's just go S. So this will do all of the keys in our set, which is great. Now, we're going to need some variables to count where we're currently at. So we're going to need, firstly, a max count, which will, because we can have, so we have 1, 2, 3, and then awesome, we're at 3, but say we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 somewhere else in the array. So we need to store different counts. We can't just have one max counter. And then we're going to want our regular counter, which is just going to keep track of things through the array. So as soon as a number is not consecutive anymore, it just goes back to 0. Actually, sorry, it's going to be 1. Because it's always going to start at 1 when it starts counting. And finally, the way we're going to compare it is we're going to check if the number we're at is plus 1 from the last number. So we're going to store the last number. Awesome. So let's go ahead and start making this. Also, since we don't have a last, when we started the first integer, we can't compare it with anything. So all of our cases, for the very first integer, it's not going to, nothing's going to apply to it, if that makes sense. So we're going to need, we're going to have a boolean that basically just skips the entire first integer. So if first equals true, then first equals false. So it'll enter this loop, and then we can go into our real algorithm. So what did we say before? The way we're going to be comparing is we're going to see if it's plus 1 from the last integer. So if s equals last plus 1, then our counter is going to go increment by 1. Now if that's not the case, if it's completely different, say we're at 0, 0, 1, 2, and then 4, that's not plus 1, so we're going to set the counter back to 1. And then at the very end, so they're the two possible cases. It's either consecutive or not consecutive. And every iteration we're going to update the max counter. So if counter is greater than max count, max count equals counter. Cool. And then finally, since we're using last, we're going to do last equals s. And we're going to update that at the very bottom. Tidy this up a bit. So great. So we added this first one just so it skips everything. And then it can just update the last. And then when it goes to the next iteration, then we can start doing it. So it'll only ever enter this on the first iteration. Nice. So we can go ahead and run that. Oops. Return statement would help. Brilliant. It's 47. Which is interesting. Oh, they use Arrays.sort, okay. Which is n log n. You can do that, ours is n log n as well, but we've done it. Awesome. Cheers guys.